Hello, everyone. Thanks for giving us your time today for VR Gamescast. I'm Ian Hamilton in New York, joined by Don Hopper in Missouri, with Beck in Canada broadcasting the show for us today as we discuss games in VR. I'm wearing a Quest 3 with audio routed externally through high-quality microphones, and we're using David Heaney's VR Studios with hand tracking and meta avatars. We'll be back on Thursday with David Heaney to discuss the next steps in personal computing on VR download. Right now, we've got a tablet in front of us showing us live comments. So if you have any questions about VR, put it out there, and our community might be able to help you out, and we will try to address comments over the course of the show. You can listen to us on your favorite podcast platform of choice and become a member on UploadVR.com to support our work directly. Don, what do we have today?
Well, Ian, it's been a little bit of a light week in VR gaming news, but we still have some really good topics to discuss. So obviously, one huge game that released that a lot of people have been waiting for, Zero Caliber 2. We're going to talk about that. We're going to do the next segment in my adventures in VRChat. As usual, I'm going to be showing the next 3 worlds that I visited this week. We're going to talk a little bit about Flat2VR Studios getting a boost from some early Oculus investors, and then we're going to talk about flying drones, both virtual and real, in the headset.
So we're in the summer months here and the summer weeks when a lot of executives go on vacation. The news sort of dies down, but it's an exception to that on the platform side of things. We're hearing some of the pieces being put into place for the next big platform moves, and we've been reporting on that, but it still means we've got sort of people holding on to their gaming news until Gamescom, and then of course the big onslaught right after that for the next few months. So it's going to be a busy couple weeks for us as we come out of summer, but right now we're still in that little phase right before we get into it.
Calm before the storm, that's all I gotta say.
I love our commenters here. They were ready for me to change my outfit. I did put on my Stranger Things
it's looking fly
uniform.
Great this week.
This is the one outfit that I'm in. So this is I saw it in our comments. I see myself in our little mirror as Stranger Things. What do you see?
I see. You've got a Hellfire Club. You've got this really, really awesome layered sweater, like vest jacket thing going on with some flare on it. And
Beck warned me not to be in the spacey outfit, the one with the planets on it. Is that the planets? Or no, this is Beck's. Do you have me in the astronaut? Beck has outfitted me outside of VR. She's taken full control of my avatar and has me outfitted in real. I can't even describe it, right?
We're scared, folks. We're scared.
It's a filter in OBS is what I have been modified by. This is terrifying. The complete control over my my look is controlled by OBS.
The Amorphous Game Card says there's the hand growing out of your shoulder. All
right. Well, underneath. All right.
Hey, now you guys can
better.
see. Yes, okay. Now you can see Ian's fly outfit here. So. Okay, but this is not a fashion show. This is a games show. So.
Yeah, all right. Well, we're going to go right into Zero Caliber. When we get to the end, when we talk about Bomber Drone, it's going to get to some serious. We'll touch on some serious subjects there. I think briefly. But let's start here with Zero Caliber, Don. You went into Zero Caliber a little bit. You know what our impressions of it are, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously we had a great review up on the site, and I can't agree more with everything in that review. I loved the first Zero Caliber, and I think you said you did as well. And it just kind of is one of those gems in VR that really, for me, brings that old school feeling of playing like, Medal of Honor or Call of Duty. And this one really, I think, because it has narrative, it has a story, and I think that's what really compels me. It's not your typical sandbox, throw everybody in. It's not your typical multiplayer shooter. You've actually got a 6-hour campaign in this thing. It is a linear narrative-driven action game. You don't have to know a lot about the first game. Now, it is a dystopian future. If you haven't kind of followed along with the storyline of Zero Caliber, drinkable water has become the only real commodity, which is something that could very well happen one of these days, you know. So you know, you've got everybody fighting over those resources, and I gotta tell you, it's the action mixed with the narrative is just really sucked me in this one.
Yeah, I went in there briefly, and the weapon handling seems pretty nice. I do wonder how it'll hold up under really intense fire and busy gameplay, but it was really nice what I saw.
The reloading gets a little clumsy. I'm not gonna lie. You know, when I'm like in the heat of the battle and I've got like multiple enemy combatants coming at me, and you're trying to kind of grab that clip, you've got so much on your utility belt there that sometimes you'll grab from your items versus, you know, grabbing for the clip to reload the gun. But overall, wasn't bothersome at all. I mean, it literally just sucked you in, and you could care less about the little bit of jank here and there. You just want to keep going and get to the end of the mission.
Yeah, people in our comments are really getting excited for the end of the year onslaught of new releases. From about Gamescom forward, we've got a big VR showcase of a lot of games that are all coming together at Gamescom for announcements, and it's going to be a big slate that has been held up until this kind of wall of headsets coming in the near future. We'll have to see all the specifics, right? We're waiting for those specifics for the final price points to be announced, the final launch lineups to be announced for the different things. We'll talk about the headsets that we expect over on VR Download.
Oh, but, yeah, absolutely.
Those headsets are holding back a lot of the games, and they're calling it out in our comments, the things people are so excited for. We know Batman Arkham Shadow is just going to blow people away, I think, when it comes to the tech that they're bringing to bear on the Quest 3.
Man, I can't wait. I mean, that is literally one of my most anticipated titles this year. And that's just me. Obviously, I'm a huge Batman fan. I mean, you know, I think I was telling you before the show, my Steam VR home is the penthouse apartment overlooking Gotham. I mean, so this is one that is like near and dear to my heart. And just in preparation, you know, I went back and played the older Arkham game on the Rift. Now, one thing that I found interesting, can't get it to start on the PC side. It's looking for the sensors for some reason for the Rift, so I ended up having to play it from Steam. But just going back and playing that very short experience has me so excited for what's to come.
I'm looking at our comments here. It looks like we've got Bomber Drone out there, the developers,
hey,
that studio out there. So we'll chat with them later. And we didn't look at I guess we're getting a lot of ads thrown at people. We saw it mentioned on VR Download. We'll have to check our ad settings. We forgot to do that before we came in here.
Okay.
And just do want to call out to Biggs and Recycled and Ryan, as well as APU. A lot of regular viewers out there.
Paradise Decay.
Tuning in.
Thank you.
I think we're ready to talk about VR chat
sure.
now. Your last few words.
I'm always
Why don't you tell us about this stuff?
So, you know, for those of you who may be joining the show new, for those of you who might not be following the series over on UploadVR.com, I have been going through all of the community suggested worlds from a big Twitter post that we put out, and each week I've been showcasing 3. So this week we've got 3 of actually one of my favorite worlds in there, but the 3 that we're showcasing this week are Magnetize, Astral Bounds, and The Edge. And we'll start here with Magnetize. So Beck, if you want to get that video going there. Magnetize, man, I gotta tell you, I love this because I actually used to do this when I was a kid. It always tripped me out to take a magnet and put it next to a tube TV, and you could make all the picture just distort and swirl and the colors, and it was just fascinating. And obviously as a kid, I didn't know I was actually playing with magnetic fields and, you know, all the things that they can do. Well, Magnetize brings all that to life in a VR chat world. You start in this really nostalgic, almost kind of 80s-esque, early 90s-esque living room. You've got a TV over in the corner that you can actually use. It is a full media player. As you can see probably from the video here, I'm actually watching our show in that room as I'm inhabiting it. Then you kind of trace these wires back, and you find this light fixture and you turn it on, and all of a sudden this wall becomes almost like this weird TV screen, and you can start manipulating it, and then you realize you can walk through it and you're inside the television. And it is just really an interesting perspective being inside the TV and looking out at the room. And then you turn around and you pull yourself into this whole other reality, so to speak, where you've got all of these TVs, they're all showing what I was playing. So now I've got like hundreds of us just all around me, and I'm manipulating the magnets, and I'm thinking, oh man, it can't get cooler than this. And then I drop through a hole in the floor and it becomes almost a miniature scale platformer where I have shrunk down, and now I'm running around in the world platformer style, but I can actually use, and I don't unfortunately think we show anything in the video for this, but you can actually use your magnetic powers to grab objects. Like there's one section where I had to grab a pillow, and I used it to step on, and then I used my magnetic powers to cause it to float across a void as I'm flying across this void. And it was just an interesting experience. And so if you have not checked out Magnetize and VRChat, you owe it to yourself. Go. This room is absolutely amazing.
I'm seeing Paradise Decay with a donation here saying they love the show and noting that the PSVR 2 app is now available on Steam. Ooh. That is a big moment to arrive here. We've been waiting for it, a long time coming. You can see history of that on this, on VR download from the studios. I debated that for a very long time with David Heaney, and obviously have been, what was it? I was right for the wrong reasons. That is his comment of record on that subject. I like Biggs's comment on this, calling it interactive art, and your description of this really fits that moniker really, really, really well. We've obviously been covering VRChat Worlds, and we hear the comments from people that really aren't interested in the community of VRChat. They're just not. It's just a headache for some people that might just be interested in checking out this stuff privately. Like this sounds like a delightful place to just explore on your own and see what you can do with your magnetic hands. And don't ever let that don't ever let that stop you from going into VRChat and experiencing these wonderful creations for yourself. You can go in a private instance. You can go in a friends only instance. So if you were worried about going into VRChat for what it is on most days, just go in there, experience these worlds. A lot of them are gamified. You actually have full games up in there, and that's why we're showcasing these. Yeah. We really want to showcase the power of the platform, not the community of it. So I like Mr. Mycelium's comment. It's all fun and games until the TV's colors won't change back, and your dad has to degauss the TV by spinning a magnet on a string.
Oh my God, go into Radio Shack and buy a degausser. Oh man, I'm having nostalgia overload here. So and then Phobea's comment, Magnetize is an attractive VR chat world. It really is. It really is one of the better looking VR chat worlds you're going to find out there. So now another one that is really, really good looking, and kind of plays on something that used to be near and dear to me before VR, is The Edge. And in The Edge, it's kind of like stepping inside, and you may or may not remember this, the old milk drop visualizer for Winamp. And it's like being inside a music visualizer. You're flying around, and there's bursts of colors and strings and explosions of particles everywhere. It is just wild. And, that's something that I've been chasing ever since the DK1. I remember putting out a post on Reddit that I had figured out how to go into Virtual Desktop's very first iteration, and you could take the screen and wrap it around you. And I figured out how to put Milk Drop in that wraparound screen and enter the visuals. And I've been chasing that ever since. So this world kind of gives a little spark of that. Now, what you don't get is you don't get a lot of variety in the visuals with this one, so it does kind of not have a lot of replayability for this particular world, but it is still one that I would highly recommend for anyone who wants to have that music and visual experience. Yeah, I really appreciate us highlighting these worlds and the variety of experience you can have in them. We've
I've been working on our intro to this show, trying to figure out how we really describe it. But play and exploration, they're pretty linked, right? And
They are.
the way you explore these worlds, it's like you never know. You literally never know what's around the next corner because they can mess with your physics, mess with your expectations. I remember we talked about it on the show. Things like, what is it, the Stanley Parable, where you did that with flat screen gaming. Well, we see some of that really absurd things done in VRChat that I don't know, traditional release games can't really do to you. You can't have unexpected things around every corner in a traditional game. Otherwise, you lose players who weren't expecting that type of thing.
Looks like we got a lot of chat going on still about the PSVR 2 adapter. That is definitely something that is on everyone's radar right now.
Yeah, we had that discussion with David. We'll have more of a discussion when we come on Thursday to do the industry-wide chat. There's of course the features that people really wanted, or not wanted, but the special features of PSVR 2, the headset haptics, the advanced haptics inside the controllers. Those things are not active. I think the foveated rendering isn't active in this initial release. So that's going to make it compatible with a lot of the best things on Steam, but all that additional stuff that Sony has in its platform, we're going to have to wait to see how Sony really rolls that out. And there's a lot of, I don't know, confusion or debate, I guess, in the community right now. How much did Sony plan for this, right?
Yeah.
Did they really see this a couple years out, that they were going to support PC the whole time?
Funny thing is, I read over on Twitter, I read a post today talking about the fact that Sony actually had this in mind the entire time.
Yeah, so
that this is something that was planned from the get-go of the planning phases of PSVR 2, that it was meant to be a PC VR headset.
Well, those would be the wrong reasons that I've had to debate David Heaney about over on the other channel. So we will get into that with him.
Tune in on Thursday. I think it's going to be a damn good discussion over there on Download.
Yeah. Well, we'll see whether. So I think they're talking about it in our comments. Can't this stuff be patched in later? And it's really frustrating from a player standpoint, or from from an observer standpoint, to understand that some games are going to come from Steam and have the same features that you would expect out of Steam, but what if some games come through the Sony layer, or require a Sony account, or you want to go access extra features, you've got to have the Sony overlay up and running. That's all hypothetical. This is me guessing right now how this is going to roll out. But if that starts happening over time, are people going to like that, or be immensely frustrated by that? Again, that's all hypothetical. We haven't seen how
anytime you put another layer, people are going to get frustrated. Just like when I have to use Uplay, when Bridge Crew first rolled out, that was the first time I ever had to use a secondary service like Uplay, and I was like, "What is this? Why am I having to take my headset off and log into another service?" So
yeah, no, that's nightmare scenarios. Everyone hates that, and I see people are pointing out that Half-Life Alyx is on sale right now. It's a big discount to go add that game to your Steam library. If this is your first time going and plugging in a PSVR 2 into a PC, your first time enjoying PC content, do yourself a favor and go get Half-Life Alyx.
Oh God, you have to.
That's just the beginning of the list of things. It's hard to say. You've got to go look at the specs and make sure you're up to snuff. But it's on the lighter side comparatively to some of the games, like Flight Simulator. You need a beastly machine nowadays, right?
And well, I mean, if you're going to pick up Half-Life Alyx, you're not just getting the game; you're getting the mods. And some of the mods for Half-Life Alyx are where it's at. I mean, there is like a whole BioShock recreation up in there that you can go explore. There's so many good things that come from mods. We could literally dedicate an entire show just to that. So,
I want to see what happens to Dreams. I want to see what becomes of that project over time. Over on Google's end of things, they've open sourced Tilt Brush, and they open sourced what was the other one? Blocks.
Blocks. Yes, Blocks.
Yeah,
It
I
was
think we
Blocks.
just reported on that. So those were two early projects from Google that have been released to the world, and they are like that code has been ingested by other projects and reused again. And there's just incredible stuff done on Dreams, incredible things inside of Sony's ecosystem there that people want to know what's going to happen of. Well, yeah, so we'll get into that debate, and of course, people are so excited about Sony and PSVR 2 on PC.
Well, I have to address Biggs here. Biggs, if you have never checked out the Half-Life Alyx mods, you are missing out. You definitely need to go check those out. There are some awesome mods.
Yeah, I mean, you go in there, it's in the menu system, right? There's an easy to use menu system to go and access those things.
There are mods in there that literally have entire new cinematic sequences with the characters from Alyx that literally make it feel almost like an episode 1, episode 2 situation.
Yep. Yeah, Bomber Drone mentioning mods. Yes, of course. For all the new viewers who aren't familiar, Alyx mods are a huge, huge reason. Think of it as this is access to what Steam wants to be in the future when you go access the mod. So if you go and get Half-Life Alyx on PC, you're going on a path that it's been laid out for you for a long time with Quest users. So you went from Quest games, which may have felt light on headset, right? Like you could go finish a couple hours. I wish that felt like, I don't know, flimsy or wooden. Like that you can get that feeling from your surroundings if there isn't really good lighting. Then you've got a PC and you add that to the system, and you go into something like Half-Life Alyx where there's something new around every corner. And you finish the game, and then you go to the mods, and you find out that there is a huge amount of community-fed stuff in this experience that you can modify and go and experience in tons of ways, right? I think the Portal, there's even some Portal environments pulled in, and you can get a little bit of a feel of the Portal worlds inside of the Half-Life Alyx mechanics.
There are whole game creations that are made from these mods, whole 1 and 2 hour experience add-ons. So again, I can't recommend them enough, especially for anyone out there who has never experienced those. You have to check them out. It is almost like a must if you own the game. If you have Steam, you're missing out if you're not checking out those mods.
Yeah, so Chrome Colossus saying Dreams is abandoned. I still use it, but Sony and Media Molecule are done with it. I know that feeling. I still can't. You don't take a project with that much community content inside of it and just end of life it overnight. You have a process that lasts a little while you give your community time to figure out what they're going to do with their stuff. And it looks like people are going into those mods, Biggs. Have fun. Let us know what your favorite ones are. We'd love to hear back from you after you check out those mods. We do have a list out there, I think, with some of the best mods.
I think there is, yeah. I think there is on the site. Now, kind of speaking of community engagement and community creations, we still have one more VR chat world we need to cover. So real quick, kind of jumping back to that, the last world that I visited this week was called Astral Bounds. And Astral Bounds is a huge virtual city that is completely designed for you to explore. It's a huge city that's built around this big barrier that's kind of keeping reality at bay from the last city to be consumed by it. You navigate the city. There's towers to go up. You unlock these crystal events that then once again turn it into a musical sky show with like fireworks and lights and particles. So if you like to explore, if you like that sense of wonder, like you said, finding something new around every corner, definitely check out Astral Bounds. Okay, there we go. Got that out.
So we've gone through our VR chat check around the block. Basically, you can send new VR chat worlds for us to look into at tips@uploadvr.com. Yeah, let us know about any interesting worlds. And we were just talking about this before we came live, but we're starting to turn our gaze to Horizon World, starting to think about Rec Room and seeing what we can highlight in those spaces as well. We kind of began with VR chat because we wanted to highlight some of those really stellar worlds.
Horizon, Rec Room, Resonite. let's see. There was like one or two other ones that were recommended. I know Banter from the guys from our friends over at SideQuest.
Yeah, there's Engage too. Engage has an
Mhm.
interesting little platform out there for
So I'm
sort
going
of
to be all
business
over
use
the
cases.
metaverse. Yeah, I'm going to be everywhere. So
All right, well, let's talk about Flat2VR and this latest news from them. Don, why don't you bring us up to speed on what Flat2VR announced?
So you know, it's really awesome to see them coming up. I mean, you know, I was talking about modders earlier. Modders are the backbone right now of the VR gaming community, in my opinion. I mean, these are the guys that are bringing the things that we really want to see. So Flat2VR Studios just received a huge funding funding boost from the people who actually helped to start Oculus. So it's the AZ16 or
A16Z, yeah.
A16Z, sorry, A16Z, and so basically they have been accepted into the Speedrun Accelerator program over there. So there's only 37 companies selected out of 4,100 applicants for that every year. So
Yeah,
this is huge for them. Huge for them.
Yeah, so we've seen some various periods in VR history when various companies got some funding or some support, and the biggest one for the history books to remember is 2014.
Hmm.
Meta, or Facebook at the time, went and acquired Oculus, and this came after Mark Zuckerberg went and visited the offices and checked out the Valve room that had been installed basically by Valve for Oculus in the early days to demonstrate positional room scale tracking, the ability to move around a room and feel really comfortable. Mark Zuckerberg came and saw that and very quickly bought the company after kind of surveying what the latest in technology was. Well, on that path, it was a very short amount of time between Zuckerberg checking it out himself and actually buying the company. They immediately preceding that, took a big investment round from A16Z, Andreessen Horowitz. So this
Horowitz, yeah.
very epic investment group. They have been major funding partners for a lot of what the internet does. And right, they invested in Oculus right before Zuckerberg swooped in and bought this company. And so you see this happen in companies. It's why I've kind of been harping on what happened to Magic Leap. Magic Leap went and took investment rounds from Google and then Saudi Arabia, this investment arm of Saudi Arabia. Well, when you take those biggest stakes in companies, you become part of their like cheerleading group. You become part of the suppliers. You become tied to them in a major way because you benefit from your investment in that company doing well. Well, A16Z played that part early on in Oculus, right? Like they came on board with these investors that said, hey, we see what you're doing, we believe in it, we're going to connect you to the people that we're connected to, we're going to put you on a path to get more money from us if you need it for the future. That's a lot of what investors do. Well, to see the same group after all these years come and support Flat2VR Studios, to accept them into this accelerator program, it's not the same as the investment amount thrown at Oculus back in the day. It was on the order of, I want to say, $50+ million that was thrown at Oculus to really fund them and what they were doing. But still, taking Flat2VR into this accelerator program is a big vote of confidence in Flat2VR becoming what is going to be a major publisher if they keep this up into the future.
Well, I mean, Andreessen Horowitz. I mean, they like you said, they are kind of a lot of your internet technologies, whether you know it or not. I mean, have been funded from them. Skype, Facebook, Medium, Substack, Roblox, Twitter, Instagram, Airbnb, Stripe, Coinbase, BuzzFeed. I mean, it's a ton. It's a ton.
Yep, and Don has been playing with some of these ports himself. He's been messing with the Team Beef ports, the various things the community has done. I've been looking at the things people have been doing with virtual desktop, just taking out the black backgrounds in VRChat and turning that transparent in mixed reality is a massively cool thing to do.
Gosh, yes.
and that's just the beginning, right? And it's there's just such major opportunity ahead for Flat2VR Studios to help give structure to a lot of these efforts to more or less help classic gaming find its footing inside virtual spaces and official ports.
Well, and I know they are actually working on, we don't know what it is yet. We will soon find out. I believe the reveal is at Gamescom, but they are working on porting another major flat title right now. And
Yeah, I imagine their slate is pretty full. Like there's a
imagine.
lot of things that they can bring, and it's gonna. I imagine they'll knock it out of the park with something big right off the bat. And it's just when I look at what Walkabout Mini Golf is doing with its licensing partnerships, there's opportunities for other companies to be doing license partnerships that are even bigger than what they're doing to bring things into VR. And yeah, I'm seeing apps say that Sony needs their own Flat2VR division. And honestly, we even had Simon, one of Dr. Beef himself. We had him inside of the studio talking to him back in the day about where is the platform support, right? Like there is such opportunity, but they just seemed ambivalent about it back in the day, and it seems to be changing now.
It's like Chrome Colossus has said here, Flat2VR, Dr. Beef, and Team Beef. I mean, it's all such a heartening story. I mean, being able to watch these guys is just loving the community and loving the games and wanting to see them in VR and finding a way to make that happen. It is just amazing.
It's going to turn. It's going to turn. It's a heartening story right now. The thing that I
can see it turning.
I'm gonna be on the watch out for when fan run efforts are taken down because there are financial gains to be made, right?
Well, so don't even get me started with Stage 9. I mean, if you want to open that can of worms, my favorite fan run effort of all time was there was to be a 100% digital recreation of the Enterprise D, and it was getting there. I mean, and I still have the files. If you can find them, they are still out there, but it was completely shut down by CBS Paramount. And these guys weren't trying to make money. They weren't trying to do a Kickstarter. They weren't trying to do anything. They just were doing it for the love of the fandom. And
well, and so we've got Bomber Drone coming up here very soon, and I think we should probably discuss this because it looked like Bomber Drone is being published by Flat2VR Studios. So we saw this. We saw this as an extension of what they're doing with these ports that we all know about, or we're waiting to see what happens at a Gamescom, what that first title is, and what their slate is. But Bomber Drone is this completely different, unexpected game that is not obviously a Flat2VR port. And you discovered this while doing your search into mixed reality titles, and you're kind of blown away by it.
Yeah, okay, so like, yeah, we were kind of wanting to update our mixed reality list. We noticed it hadn't been updated in a while, so Ian tasked me with kind of going out there and looking for any of the new mixed reality that we may not have seen or heard of. And as I was going through the Meta store, I came across Bomber Drone, and I'm like, oh, what is this? This looks fun. And I'm not gonna lie, I downloaded it to my Quest 3 and I didn't really expect for it to take me the way that it did. I thought, okay, it's gonna be this, I'm gonna fly this little drone around in my, living room and whatever, and it's gonna fly through walls, and it's, it's gonna like fly through my couch, and all of a sudden it didn't. And that's what blew me away, because I'm still in virtual reality, in mixed reality, make your world solid. I've said it in 1,000 videos, make your world solid. So what was great was seeing a mixed reality title finally using that room mesh to its full potential. And the fact that I couldn't fly the drone through my couch because it knew my couch was there. I could actually land it on my table because it knew my table was there. And having the augmented reality or mixed reality objects interact with my real world objects in a believable way clicked something in my brain, and it made this more magical than I thought it was going to be. And it's just fun too. I mean, you're flying this drone, you've got missiles flying all over your room, there's bullets shooting everywhere, you're trying to rescue the guy. It's just fun.
Yeah, I'm seeing Bomber Drone in our comments interacting with the community. Thank you for tuning in, and let them know if you have any questions about the game. It was one of our questions as you were looking into this was just what are their plans for the future? There
Yeah.
looks like there's real nuggets of a real interesting experience
Oh,
here
I
that
want to see
you
so
want to.
much more.
Yeah.
So much more from this game. I mean, I would love to see multiplayer. That would be amazing. I mean, could you imagine having two co-located quests in the same room and you're just running around and trying to kind of almost bringing back the magic of tanks and airplanes from the old Atari days, you know? I mean,
Oh wow,
it's
yeah.
like,
So you combine some of this stuff, right? Like, or so previously we did the RC car. Don
yes.
went and drove an RC car. He sat inside of. He felt like he was sitting inside of the RC car that's driving around his own environment, doing flips in his driveway,
Hmm.
testing out the connection between the headset and this little RC car. Well, I mean, this is such an open landscape of good ideas, of fun, engaging ideas. If you did you ever do the Couch Nights demo back
I did.
on?
I did.
It was so for people that aren't familiar, Unreal back when it was a company smaller than Fortnite, um, they built a demo for Unreal Engine that you could get up and running really easily if you were messing with the Unreal Engine. It was this demo of multiplayer, basic multiplayer, and you could control two people or two people with both of you sitting at couches, and one person could be in a VR headset, and you had this controllable character that would jump around the geometry of your room. Well, if you set it up right, there wasn't any sensing of your room back in the day, but if you set up your couch where the couch is in the game, and you're leaning back over your chair and doing that sort of thing, it felt immensely
Hmm.
satisfying. And we're now a decade on from this demo that was built for Unreal Engine, and obviously Fortnite is the future of Epic Games, right? They
Yes.
invested everything in building Fortnite rather than seeing this Unreal Engine thing flourish, right? Like you did, there's nothing done with this. There's not a whole lot done. Here, when I'm looking at Bomber Drone and I'm thinking of these games that use your environment in these ways, it's games that haven't been allowed to exist for the last
Hmm.
decade because no one has seen any cool proofs of concept. Well, you just played one, didn't you?
Absolutely. And you know, you're kind of one thing that I really thought was interesting, and you said proof of concept is the first game that I've seen this in the viewfinder. So when you're using the viewfinder, you've got a viewfinder that you can turn on and off. It simulates a camera feed from the drone, but it simulates it using the meta mesh overlay of your room. So you're kind of seeing, you know, the not perfect overlay of your room, but you can fly your drone past the boundaries that you've set and continue around corners using the viewfinder. And I'm actually seeing my kitchen, and I'm not in the kitchen. It was just, it was really cool.
Yeah, so this is the transition to the other video,
Yes.
Beck. If you can throw up the
Yes.
Skydio video. So within about 24 hours here at UploadVR, we had three
Three.
articles hit our website from three different people, all related to aircraft and control from VR headsets. And so David Heaney put an article up about the FAA licensing a
Very cool.
VR-based simulator so you could get training hours towards licenses by using a VR simulator, VR-based simulator. And then Don had his Bomber Drone article. We've got Bomber Drone in our comments. This developer, and what Don is describing, this simulated viewfinder showing him his room mesh, has been uh, digging at my brain for a really long time because uh, drones are this category of like personal electronics that it's something you're going buy when you've got $1,000 to burn on something you don't really
Mhm.
need but you want to play with. It's similar to an RC car in that way. There's very high-end RC cars you can throw money at. Well, then I saw this Skydio drone being operated from a Quest 3, and it's the missing piece of all of this. It's one of these ways of interacting with with remote controls that people are familiar with, they're aware happens, but it's not happening in large numbers yet. And it's going to get a little, like, we'll talk about this on VR Download, but what we've got is a category of device called first person viewer
FPV. Yeah.
FPV goggles, or an FPV headset. And all it is it's an untracked portable display to give you a large display where you don't have the space to carry around an LCD monitor or a giant fold-out display.
So a lot of times it's nothing more than a Google Cardboard style headset that you put your phone in.
Yeah. So, and yeah, I mean, it's very, very simple. Well, it's felt to me like those viewers and VR headsets have been on a collision course for a very long time. And this video and this demo done on Reddit pointed out that if you use your VR headset, your general purpose VR headset, that would be a Quest Horizon OS based system or Vision OS based system at this point. We'll have to see what Android does, but you take these general purpose VR headsets and you put the first person viewer as just one app amongst many that you have access to inside this general purpose device. So you could bring up instructions, you could bring up how-to videos in other windows, you could bring up other apps to do different things on a flow of doing something else with this device than just simply recording video or getting a cool video of your community.
My mind is already racing, and I mean, you know how my mind works now. So I mean, obviously, the minute I saw the Skydio video in your article, my mind went right to the Cobotics RC car, and how cool would it be for something like that to show me sitting in the cockpit of the drone. And I'm actually flying it using hand tracking, and I'm actually flying a real drone that way. But then take it a step further. Imagine sitting in my chair. So sitting in a full motion simulator, controlling an RC drone using gyro assist, but you're actually feeling the motion of the drone at the same time.
Yeah, so we're going in the same direction of imagining the paintball game of the future, right? Drones versus people on the ground.
Yes.
And the drones are remotely controlled by a bunch of people in VR headsets versus people on the ground. Now, I'm being funny, we're being silly with this. There are very serious real world scenarios where this same technology can be used for warfare. And
this is true.
We need to keep that in mind, and I don't think we're going to talk about it right now. This is a Gamescast. We'll talk about that when we can on VR Download. Let us know, tips@uploadvr.com, if you have interesting things for us to hear about, to understand in this area. But it's what I just described, Don, right? Like this war game scenario where you've got a mixture of aerial drones with land-based people with paintball guns, and they're all firing fake weapons at each other. We're both Star Trek fans. It takes me back to that original series episode where the people on the planets have a simulated war, and they have to go die basically when the computer tells them that they have to die.
Okay, I know that one. Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, and then, well, I mean, and you know, I know it's kind of off topic, but that got my mind thinking. You know, you were talking about that Ender's Game. You're controlling it, but you don't know that you're actually controlling something that's real. So
yeah,
it's like
and it's been done in Black
game.
Mirror.
Yeah,
and Toys. The one that's near and dear to my heart is the movie Toys with Robin Williams from the 1990s. Same exact idea. So this is all to say, right, there's very, very cool, interesting stuff. We covered several of them being done with these tools. And the one that gets me here is you pointed out this room mesh being simulated by bomber drone. It's such a killer feature for doing this. And I should choose my words more carefully than this, but like the thing that the missing piece of all this is that FPV goggles are quite uncomfortable for many people to use. That we've seen this in our comments, and it's difficult for us to discuss, but it's all related. I saw it in one of our comments saying, people that get sick from VR, maybe you should just stick to flat games. And I thought that was such a
Yeah, I don't like that comment. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. I felt it was so wrong. I understand the sentiment, and I also disagree with people that say that you can get your VR legs. Some people can get used to and more comfortable with VR over time, but it's not going to be everyone.
No,
This
it's
takes
not.
us to drone control, and you imagine controlling a drone. What we should have is that room mesh provided for most people to control drones inside VR, because what you're doing is you're, if you disconnect the person from the FPV viewer, you give them the map of the environment, and then you show the drone in 3D space as if it's like a as if it's a miniature, right? And you're controlling it in third person from your whatever
Oh yeah.
control pad is. You're disconnecting your view from the view of the drone while giving yourself a real-time map of the geometry of the space. If you do that, the drone control is going to be comfortable for 99 or 100% of the people who actually use it. If you send the geometry that you're getting first back to the headset and have a real-time map built out, you can imagine, what is it, Prometheus? Remember the movie Prometheus, when you had the drone going,
yes, and he goes
flying
through
around inside the thing?
and maps the whole structure. Yes.
That's the exact way it should work inside a VR headset, from any drone feeding you back your data. And if you've got that control over that drone doing that while it's feeding you back the data, you're not going to feel uncomfortable at all.
I don't think you would. I don't think you would. I really think it would help to kind of help your brain to acclimate. So let's see here. We got any good comments on this right now? Because we got a lot of people starting to talk about the motion sickness, as usual. That is a hotbed topic when we start talking about it. Oops, sorry. I accidentally muted. So let's see here. Trying to see. Yeah, so Chrome Colossus says most people can acclimate, but it has to be done. Oops. It has to be done correctly. If it's not, it has the opposite effect. And I've got to speak to that. It actually does have to be done correctly. It has to be done in very small bursts. You're really kind of building those VR legs, no joke. And you know, the thing that gets people is when they feel they're going to push past it. You never, ever want to push past it. The minute you start feeling that wiggy feeling, just stop. And you know, as you do that more and more, and you push, you'll find you'll tend to find that you're going, oh well, now I'm going 30 minutes, now I'm going 40 minutes, now I'm going an hour before I start feeling that disconnect, that discomfort.
Yeah, and I agree with Danya. Do not push yourself past your limits of discomfort. That is the quickest way to give yourself an hour laying in bed while you feel awful.
And it's the quickest way for you not to want to return to that headset. Subconsciously, your brain will start to put blocks that you don't want to go in VR. You don't want to do it, and because you don't want to get sick, and you know you're going to push past it, but your brain doesn't. Your subconscious goes, nope, I don't want to do this anymore, and it just makes it to where you don't want to go in VR.
Yeah, so people are pointing out the generational differences. People acclimatizing themselves to the screens earlier in life. We've discussed that theory a little bit on the VR download. Those are all interesting points, but I guess you just have to realize you've got people that go and buy these devices, and they're going to buy these devices for the next 20, 30 years, who never acclimatized, who weren't raised on those types of screens, and they're going to be returning those devices when they go and experience the wrong type of content for too long. So it's not like, I don't want to do that thing we did a couple years ago about poisoning the well. I'm not really worried about, you know, they're just going to return it and they won't come back again. That's fine. That's their loss. The thing is, we can help people avoid having that as their first experience by just prepping them beforehand, telling them, use the stick for teleport.
No, seriously.
If you try to stick to games that give you teleport. And if you feel yourself you feel ready, go try it. But the moment you feel uncomfortable, back off and go
look,
back a bit.
I'm going to make a really, really easy to follow analogy here. We didn't all start riding bikes without training wheels, or most of us didn't. So you're not going to just jump right on that bike and be, you know, like hitting the trail. I mean, you're going to have to learn how to ride first.
It's funny. I like that analogy because they're not using training wheels very much anymore. They're using the balance bikes, which is ironic because it's a completely different way to get on there. I appreciate these comments. Yeah, I just described it. I think you know what I've just described. I want that game. I want that game, Don, where I'm driving around a car on your floor and launching missiles at your dogs on the floor, and you getting mad at me for attacking your dogs, right? Like, that should be a game.
That would be
How
amazing.
dare you?
That would be so fun. So I would love to see more of those. You know, I'd love to see more of those mixed reality multiplayer experiences, and it doesn't even have to be co-location. You know, I mean, I said co-location earlier, but you know, it doesn't have to be in the same room. It could be Ian in, you know, New York and me here in Missouri, but he's seeing my floor and I'm seeing his floor through the headset. It would just be insane.
And that's why it's really fun to think about the geometry, like the fact that you've got that little map of your room on this little viewfinder, right? I think you would probably be willing to give that up to me as a...
You'd have to do a permission, right? I would give you a permission to see my room map, and you would give me a permission to see your room map.
But I don't necessarily, like, I don't necessarily need to see the textures of everything. I don't necessarily need to know what the books are on your wall.
Yeah, just the geometry and the mesh. Yeah, exactly the way that the viewfinder does it in the game currently.
I want to launch missiles at your dog.
Now, one thing I didn't talk about. We never talked about the outside. Like in Bomber Drone, one thing that I had a lot of fun with was actually doing the outdoor mode too. And what I thought was cool is how far I could freaking make that drone fly up as high as I could go, and like I'm still sitting there shooting missiles and dropping bombs, but they're like happening from like 100 feet above my head, you know. So it was just insane. And then seeing the bombs hit my actual real ground and do little explosions and stuff. But one thing that kind of killed that experience, and this is something, since the Bomber Drone is in here, I'm going to address it. We do now have the ability to turn off boundaries in mixed reality, so please turn off the boundaries. You know, give me full reign of all my space. That would be great. So just saying.
Yeah. So people are appreciating the humor here, the silliness. Yeah, I don't want to hurt Don's dog. I love Don's dogs.
Yes, we're animal lovers.
He has a task anytime he's shooting mixed reality video.
He has to have my animals. Yes.
We want to see his animals because they, you know, anytime they pop up in the footage, our commenters react and I react. It's wonderful seeing those. But I do think they are going to become targets in mixed reality over time. So we're gonna have to deal with that.
Well, I did land the drone on Nugget. You know, like Nugget was laying on the couch, so I decided to land the drone on her.
Yeah, helipads, right? That's wonderful.
Yeah. But again, going back to that, I think that was the thing that really, really made it stood out for me. Is the minute that I picked up the little guy and he's like bouncing off of things, and like I had to raise because I couldn't move him through my table.
Typing. Beck's typing. I'm worried she's doing awful things. I
know. What is going to show up behind us next? We never know.
Oh yeah, they're hearing my cat. So my cat is currently in my come here, kitty. The cat got up here and was in my lap, and now he's going around. Here he is. Come here. Come on.
I'm trying to find the one comment of the entire show that I forgot I wanted to call.
Say hi to everyone, kitty.
Which kitty is this? Which one?
This is Ziggy.
Ziggy? Okay.
Yeah. Ziggy Stardust.
Yeah. Mr. Kitty is scratching at the door. I should let him in. So.
Oh, if Nugget got up, would it move the drone? So no, that is going to be the issue with all of this, and it is one of the questions. We're talking about silly ideas, and really, I mentioned it very briefly, but the same concepts that we're discussing now are legitimately questions about rules of, weapons of war. But like, how exactly good are the headsets at providing an updated live room mesh of everything around you. It's incredibly useful for
Well,
Apple Vision Pro to let you know when someone walks into your room. You can see
see,
them. You're notified of them walking to your space, but that's
that's
not true of dogs
that's
and cats.
perfect that you mentioned that, because that is the one limitation that I did find a little jarring in Bomber Drone, was when I was using the viewfinder and looking at the mesh, if Nugget or Missy or one of my animals or my wife walked into the room, that I didn't see them in there. Where with Vision Pro having the ability to do continuously live room scanning,
Well,
that would solve that.
but the thing is, the devs need to know how to use those tools, and right
This
now
is true.
it is an open. Like, devs are really struggling with how to use the advanced tools inside of Unity. It costs a lot of money to go and activate Unity for people now,
Yeah,
and
it
then
does.
the tools themselves are just difficult to use and really take advantage of those extra tools. This is, what is Ian holding? A cat, a cat, a cat, or a cat.
Yeah, we haven't played that in a while.
This is correct. I am
Uh,
holding a cat.
So this is it. I finally found, okay, there was a comment earlier in the show that I meant to bring, since we're talking about silly and having fun now. So 86, the Mad Hatter, digging Ian's "How do you do, fellow kids?" drip this week.
I know. I totally took Steve Buscemi. I did the Steve Buscemi outfit.
I
And
was going to say that was where I was going with that.
I considered it as it was part of the pricing. Like, it was, what am I really going to buy strangers? Like, how many people? I would like to know. Please, someone inside Meta leak the information of how many people bought this outfit inside of the Meta ecosystem. Is it greater or less than 15 people? I would like to know.
I did not. So.
Yeah.
As much
No,
as I
so
think it's
Don-
cool
Don
though,
isn't
because
one
I
of them.
love, I love Hell. I want that shirt in real life, actually. The Hellfire thing.
Robin saying that was wearing the same
So
shirt in real
we
life.
had a
yeah.
poll, but I don't know what our poll was about.
It's cats. It was.
Well,
What is Ian
cat,
holding?
cat, but there was no other choice.
Yeah, well, it's correct. The poll was correct. Everyone
That
in
is
the
true.
poll was right.
That is
I'm
true.
impressed. That's
That's
when you take a poll around UploadVR, you get to feel good because you're correct in your response. Oh,
We're dangerous with information.
I would keep it locked up as long as I can. Yeah, I mean, there's no secrets here. The things we're
No.
discussing are pretty out there, and
We have
that's one of the
secrets.
reasons we're
We have all
discussing.
sorts of secrets, but we
this stuff,
can't tell
yeah.
you guys yet. So
But yeah, I think cats in VR are a major like, there's I Am Cat was overnight one of the biggest downloaded games on the MetaQuest platform. I think you should be paying attention to that as
No, you
a
should.
platform holder, right?
no, you should. I jumped back in it the other day just for the hell of it. I was like, I had only played it the one time. It's still getting a lot of traction. I was like, what is it about this game? So I jumped back in there. I expected to be in there for 10 minutes. I was in there for a full hour. So it's definitely got that suck you in kind of property to it.
But on that point, we need pet tracking. We need it yesterday. It needs, we joked about it, Don, right? But like, how legitimately, if you had 3 animals in your space and they're walking around with you, would you choose to share their locations with me? Would you let me, as another person with you in VR, see where your animals are in the room?
I don't see why I wouldn't. It's not anything that, if you were so let's put it this way. If it was the old days and we weren't in VR and you were coming over to side seat game on my couch, would you see where my animals were? Why would
And
I care if you saw
I would
where
pet
I'm
them.
in VR?
I would ask to pet them. And I know in NVR, it's like it's a missing thing to not be able to share your environment and the awesome animals in it.
Biggs right here says he wants cat sidekicks on our stream, so we got to throw HTC trackers on our cats now and have them join us in the studio.
We'll work on that. We'll see what we can do. That sounds like a great idea.
Yes, it'll be pet show off your pet day on VR Gamescast. Bring your pet to work day.
We've had a silly show here where we've talked about some very serious things as well as some very silly things. We will be back on Thursday as we discuss the next steps in personal computing. We don't get too silly over there with David unless he starts disagreeing with me and telling me that I'm wrong for the right reasons, right for the wrong reasons. I don't know.
You should really
I can't
mess
keep
him
track.
up and wear that on Thursday.
Yeah, I should. I'll go back into my suit, I think, for Thursdays. Thank you to our audience for tuning in. Thank you to Don for jumping into all these experiences, checking them out for us. Thank you to Beck for hosting this show, and Robin's out there keeping everyone engaged in the comments. We'll see you in the future. Check with us on Thursday. And Don and I will probably do a pre-recorded episode for our next Gamescast, just because he is going to be traveling, and we will be under embargo on some things as
but I can't wait to tell you all about it when I get back.
Yeah. All right. So we will have more for you in the future. Thank you so much.